Most people don't know what SAP actually is. Let me start with something honest. Most people hear the word SAP and immediately think of one thing: accounting, invoices, finance screens, numbers everywhere. And honestly, I don't blame them, because that's how SAP is usually introduced. You see SAP only when money is involved: payments, invoices, financial reports. But here's the truth that almost nobody tells you: SAP is not an accounting system. Accounting is just the final chapter of the story. SAP is what happens before the numbers exist. When a large company operates, I mean really large, thousands of things happen every single day. Orders are placed, materials are moved, employees work shifts, factories produce goods, warehouses ship products, managers make decisions, and all of this happens at the same time. Now here's the critical question: how do you keep all of that under control without chaos? This is where SAP comes in. The real problem companies face, and why Excel fails. Let's imagine a growing company. At first, everything works fine. Sales tracks orders in Excel. Warehouse tracks stock in Excel. Finance tracks payments in Excel. So far, so good. But then the company grows. Suddenly, sales says, we sold 1,000 units. Warehouse says, we only have 600 in stock. Finance says, we invoiced 800. Now nobody knows which number is correct. This is not a technical problem. This is a trust problem. And large companies cannot afford that. They need one version of the truth, one system everyone trusts, one place where data connects automatically. That's what SAP actually is. SAP is the backbone, not the interface. Here's another misunderstanding. People think SAP is something you use like Excel, Word, Google Sheets. But SAP is not designed to look nice. It's designed to hold a company together. Think of SAP like the nervous system of a human body. You don't see it, you don't think about it. But if it fails, nothing works. Sales, logistics, production, finance, HR, all of them are connected through SAP. Not manually, not by emails, not by phone calls. Automatically. Why SAP exists in almost every big company? There's a reason why. SAP is used by global corporations. Governments rely on it. Manufacturing giants depend on it. It's not because SAP is trendy. It's because scale breaks simple systems. When you operate in multiple countries, multiple currencies, multiple legal systems, multiple time zones, you can't afford disconnected tools. SAP was built specifically for this reality. SAP doesn't run departments. It runs processes. This is a key mindset shift. SAP is not. The finance tool. The logistics system. The HR software SAP is process-driven. A process starts in one area and ends in another. Example: a customer order starts in sales. It affects inventory. It triggers production. It impacts finance. It shows up in management reports. SAP follows the process, not the department. That's why it feels complex. Because real businesses are complex. Why people find SAP confusing at first. Most beginners struggle with SAP because they ask the wrong question. They ask, which button should I click? But the real question is, what process am I inside right now? Once you understand the flow, SAP suddenly makes sense. And that's exactly what this video is about. Wrap up of part 1. So if you remember one thing from this part, let it be this: SAP doesn't manage data. SAP manages how a company works. In the next part, we'll walk through a real end-to-end business flow, step by step, and you'll see how SAP quietly connects everything behind the scenes, how a business actually works before SAP enters. Before we talk about SAP, we need to talk about how a real company operates. Because SAP didn't invent business processes. SAP was built to survive them. Let's take a simple example. A company that sells products. On the surface, it looks easy. Customer orders a product, company delivers it. Customer pays, but inside the company, this simple order triggers a chain reaction. One order, many questions. The moment an order is placed, the company needs answers. Do we have stock? If not, can we produce it? If yes, where is it stored? How much does it cost? When can we deliver? Who is responsible? Has the customer paid before? Is the price correct? Are there taxes involved? Now imagine answering all of that manually. Emails, phone calls, Excel files, different people. Different versions of the truth. This is exactly how companies lose control. Departments don't think. End to end. Another reality of companies, each department focuses on its own job. Sales wants to sell more. Warehouse wants stable stock. Production wants predictable planning. Finance wants clean numbers. Management wants visibility. None of them see the full picture alone. The problem is not people. The problem is disconnected systems. That's where SAP changes everything. SAP connects actions, not just data. Here's a very important idea. SAP doesn't wait for humans to inform each other. When something happens in SAP, the impact is immediate. An order is created, inventory is updated. Stock changes, production is informed. Goods move, accounting is triggered. No emails, no manual updates, no guessing. SAP forces the company to work as one system. Why this matters so much? In small companies, you can feel what's going on. In large companies, feeling is useless. You need real-time structure. SAP gives companies control, traceability, predictability. Every action has an owner, a timestamp, a financial impact. Nothing disappears, and companies love that. So before we even talk about SAP screens or modules, you need to understand this. SAP exists because modern companies are too complex to run on trust and memory. In the next part, we'll follow one real business flow inside SAP, from customer order to money in the bank. Part 3. One order, one system, end-to-end in SAP. Now let's make this very real. Imagine a customer places an order. Nothing fancy, just a normal business transaction. Here's what happens inside SAP. Step 1. The order is created, sales enters the order in SAP. At that moment, the customer is validated. Pricing rules are applied. Taxes are calculated. Credit limits are checked. Already, SAP is protecting the company. No one decides this manually. The system enforces the rules. Step 2. Inventory is checked. Automatically, SAP immediately checks. Is the product available? Where is it located? How much stock exists? If stock is missing, SAP can trigger production or create purchase requirements. Nothing is forgotten. Step 3. Logistics and delivery. Once confirmed, delivery is created. Warehouse picks the goods. Stock levels update automatically. Every movement is recorded. SAP now knows. What left the warehouse? When it left, who handled it? Step 4. Finance happens in the background. Here's the part beginners usually miss. Finance doesn't start later. Finance starts immediately. As soon as goods move. Accounting entries are created. Costs are recorded. Revenue is prepared. No one sits down to do accounting. SAP does it in real time. Step 5. Management sees everything at the same time. Managers see reports. KPIs update, a forecast change. All from one action, a single customer order. This is why SAP is powerful. One action, many controlled consequences. If you understand this flow, you understand 80% of SAP. Not buttons, not screens, but logic. In the next part, we'll answer the uncomfortable question: why do companies pay millions for SAP? And why they keep paying? Part 4. Why companies pay millions for SAP and keep paying? At some point, everyone asks the same question. If SAP is so complex and expensive, why do companies still use it? The short answer is control. The long answer is risk. The cost of chaos is higher than SAP. SAP is expensive. No point denying that. Licenses, implementation, support, people, all costly. But here's what companies compare it to: lost inventory, wrong financial reporting, compliance issues, audit failures, operational chaos. These problems cost far more than SAP ever will. SAP is not bought to save money. SAP is bought to prevent disasters. SAP protects companies from themselves. This might sound strange, but it's true. SAP forces discipline. You can't sell stock you don't have, ignore approvals, hide financial movements, fix it later. Quietly, SAP makes everything visible, and visibility creates accountability. Companies don't always like this, but they absolutely need it. Compliance, audits, and regulations. As companies grow, they face tax authorities, auditors, regulators, governments. Excel doesn't survive audits. SAP does. Every transaction in SAP has a timestamp, has a user, has a financial impact. Nothing disappears. This is why SAP dominates industries like manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, energy, finance, where mistakes are not tolerated. Scale changes everything. What works for 20 people breaks at 2,000. What works in one country breaks in 5. SAP was built for scale. Multiple countries, currencies, languages, legal systems. All inside one system. That's not easy. That's why SAP exists. So when companies pay millions for SAP, they're not paying for software. They're paying for control, stability, predictability. In the next part, we'll tackle a common comparison: SAP versus Excel. What's really the difference? Part 5. SAP versus Excel. Why this comparison misses the point. Almost everyone compares SAP to Excel, and honestly, it's understandable. Both store data, show numbers, create reports, but that's where the similarity ends. Excel is personal. SAP is organizational. Excel works when one person owns the file, data is static, consequences are limited. SAP works when thousands of users act simultaneously. Data changes constantly. Every action affects others. Excel is flexible. SAP is controlled, and large companies choose control. Ownership is the key difference. In Excel, files are copied, versions multiply, ownership is unclear. In SAP, every object has an owner, every change is tracked, every action is logged. This alone changes how companies behave. Automation versus manual work. Excel relies on people remembering steps, formulas staying correct, files being updated. SAP relies on automated processes, enforced rules, system checks. Humans forget, systems don't. Why companies still use Excel and always will? Excel isn't bad, it's just not designed to run companies, enforce rules, manage risk. Excel supports SAP. It doesn't replace it. This is an important distinction. If you're still comparing SAP to Excel, you're comparing tools built for completely different purposes. In the next part, we'll talk about something important: why SAP feels so complex, and why that complexity is necessary. Part 6. Why SAP feels so complex, and why it has to be. At some point, everyone says the same thing: SAP is just too complex. And they're not wrong. SAP is complex. But the important question is why? SAP is complex because businesses are complex. SAP didn't become complex by accident. Think about what SAP has to handle. Different industries, different countries, different tax laws, different currencies, different company cultures. Now imagine building one system that works for all of them. That's not simplicity, that's survival. SAP is built for exceptions, not the happy path. Most simple tools work well when everything goes right. SAP is built for when things go wrong. When deliveries are delayed, prices change, stock is missing, customers don't pay, regulations change, SAP doesn't break. It adapts through rules, checks, and controls. That adaptability looks like complexity from the outside, but it's actually protection. Why beginners struggle with SAP? Most beginners try to learn SAP like this: memorize screens, learn transactions, follow steps blindly. That's why SAP feels overwhelming. SAP only makes sense when you understand the business process behind the screen. Once you see the logic, the system stops feeling random. Customization is not a bug, it's the point. Another common misunderstanding: every SAP system looks different. Yes, and that's intentional. Companies are different, their processes are different. SAP adapts to the company, not the other way around. That flexibility creates complexity, but it also creates relevance. SAP feels complex because it mirrors reality, and reality at scale is never simple. In the final part, we'll step back and answer the big question: who should actually care about SAP, and why this matters for careers? Part 7. Final: who should care about SAP, and why this matters? If you've followed this video so far, you probably see SAP differently now. Not as software, but as infrastructure. SAP is not for everyone, and that's okay. Let's be honest, SAP is not flashy, trendy, exciting at first glance. It's structured, it's disciplined, it's demanding, and that's exactly why it matters. Who SAP is actually for SAP is for people who like systems, care about structure, enjoy understanding how things connect, want long-term relevance. It's also for people who don't want constant reinvention, unstable technologies, short-lived trends. SAP rewards patience and depth. Why understanding SAP changes career decisions? Once you understand how SAP runs a company, career paths make sense. Roles feel clearer, decisions feel less stressful. You stop chasing titles, you start choosing fit, and that's a huge shift. The bigger picture: SAP quietly runs supply chains, payrolls, factories, global finance. Most people never notice it until it stops working. That's when its importance becomes obvious. Final thought: if you remember one thing from this video, let it be this: SAP doesn't make companies successful. It makes success sustainable. And that's why it exists. If you want to go deeper into SAP, not just tools, but careers and real projects, check the links in the description.